Let's say hello to our MLB panel, though, because this is the sweat and we got a show to do. 50 minutes of DFS and sports betting advice coming your way right now. We are starting with our MLB panel. DraftKings contributors Erik Halterman, Garion Thorne, and Julian Edlow. And gentlemen, let's just jump right into MLB best bets. How about that? All right. What are your favorite bets for tonight's MLB slate? We're starting with the money line. Which money line bet do you like, Julian? Tell me about it and why.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to a first 5 inning money line bet because I don't necessarily want to get bullpens involved here. And it's also a late afternoon game, but hey, that means we get to bet on it sooner. I'm looking at the Orioles here on the first 5 and backing John Means, who has been spectacular this season. And really help the Orioles. Not that they're underdogs here, it's more of a pick 'em on the first 5, but really help the Orioles cash a lot of plus money bets so far this season. So going up against Steve Buchanan's Mariners, I know that's a tough fade. I am personally invested. Steve told me so many times about the Mariners. I am personally invested in the Mariners to win the AL West as well. But hey, the Mariners can still win this game. We just need the O's first 5. I think that they have advantages on both sides in this one, and we eliminate the bullpens and keep it short and sweet. I'm really just looking to back Means here, who I think can blank Seattle the first 5 innings.
Influenced by Steve Buchanan. Gary, which money line bet do you like tonight?
I'm actually going to do one better than a money line bet. Let's go with a run line bet because the Red Sox are massive favorites on the money line, but they're going to win this game by 22 runs anyway, so you might as well bet the run line. In general, fading Detroit is a good idea at this point. They've been horrendous the last 2 weeks. Fading Detroit against a left-handed starter is the way to go at all times. They are actually 0-7 in their last 7 games against a lefty. They come into this game dead last in baseball by wide margins in isolated power, WOBA, and WRC plus against left-handed pitching. Martin Perez hasn't been amazing, but, his FIP is in the mid 3.5s. He's been fine. And Casey Mize, who's starting for the Tigers, has been pretty bad so far this season. He's in the 15th percentile of baseball in expected WOBA, in expected ERA. That Tigers bullpen is giving up over 2 home runs per 9 innings. I think this thing gets lopsided quickly and continues to get more lopsided throughout the afternoon. So I just think taking the Red Sox here on the run line at plus money is really good value.
All right, Erik, do you have a money line bet you like tonight, or are you going to switch things up on me here?
Hey, I'm not going to get fancy here. I'm going to go with the Brewers, minus 141 at the Phillies. I think the lineups are very similar. They're both actually bottom 5 by WRC plus, 26 versus 27, so nothing to separate those, at least so far this year. I think the gap between Freddie Peralta and Chase Anderson on the mound is much bigger than the odds suggest. Peralta's been excellent, 2.25 ERA. Might fall back a bit, but the ERA estimators have him right around a 3, an even 3, which is excellent. Doesn't get a ton of grounders, but a 40.2% strikeout rate has been well more than enough to offset a high 12.5% walk rate. It's actually the 4th best strikeout rate among pitchers who've thrown at least 20 innings, trailing only DeGrom, Corbin Burns, and Garrett Cole, who are pretty good names to be associated with. Whereas Chase Anderson, ERA 5.40, and the estimators say that it should be right around there, at least right near 5. It doesn't do anything well below average strikeout, ground ball, and walk rates. So massive gap between those two, which gives a pretty big edge to the Brewers here.
All right, everyone loves an underdog. Am I right, Garion? Do you got one that you're backing tonight?
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised the Braves are road favorites in this spot against Washington. Whether you want to make this about Max Fried, who is making his first start in almost 3 weeks, he had a hamstring issue, and it's not like he was pitching well before he went on the IL. In fact, of all pitchers in baseball with at least 25 batted ball events, Max Fried's 501 opponent WOBA was the highest in all of baseball. He was getting hit around in his first 3 starts of the season. I just need to see it from this guy before I start trusting him as a road favorite, especially considering the Braves are 1-4 in their last 5 games. Maybe they don't even win last night if their pitcher doesn't hit a grand slam. I don't think that's like sustainable offense. So I think Washington, who so far this season has been one of the best teams in baseball at hitting left-handed pitching, They come into this game batting 300. That's the highest average within the split. They've got a 373 WOBA. That is the second highest mark within the split. And they might even get Juan Soto back tonight. I know there was some concern about whether or not he could play defense. So that would obviously kind of restrict him to anything more than a pinch hitting role. But if you add Juan Soto into this mix, I just don't understand why the Nationals are plus 116 on the money line right now.
All right, Erik, you got a dog that you're backing tonight?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Rangers against the Twins. They're plus 155, which says about a 39% chance is what's implied there. And I think they've got more than that. I do still think they're probably underdogs. But the gap between the lineups hasn't been huge. By WRC Plus, the Twins are 8th and the Rangers are a surprising 14th. And the gap between the pitchers, I think, is not going to be big at all. Hyunjiang Yang is a guy who I followed with the KBO last year. He actually had a down season last year. It was pretty unremarkable. But the year before that, he slightly outpitched Kwang Hyun Kim, who started his career quite well for the Cardinals. Yang was actually slightly better in both ERA and WHIP. And I think there's a path to him being a decent back-end starter, low strikeout, but low walk guy who's just fine as your number 5 starter. And Lewis Thorpe for the Twins, I don't know if he's going to be much more than that at all. His career ERA is 5.88, doesn't get a ton of strikeouts, walks more than league average, so not much there. So I think the gap between the pitchers may be non-existent, which means that it's a lot closer to a 50-50 game than the odds imply.
All right, we're talking underdogs here. Jules, has Steve influenced you on this one?
No, and I try not to let him influence me as much as possible. It just so happens that he played a role in my first bet of the day. But speaking of the day, I'll bet on NBA tonight. I have no patience. I need to bet on MLB this afternoon. So more afternoon games for me. I like the White Sox plus 110 against the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds have really hot bats, particularly at home this season, which is the only thing I'll really give them in this spot. But I like the starting pitching matchup. Keuchel's been better than Gray so far this season from what we've seen. The White Sox have been great at building up leads earlier in games. They're the best team in the first 5 in MLB, but I'm going full game money line here because of how bad the Cincinnati bullpen has been. I trust that Chicago can build up that early lead and then maybe even build on it late. Cincinnati's had one of the worst bullpens in baseball this season. They've had the worst bullpen in baseball over the last 2 weeks. Whereas the White Sox have been right around average. So I think they can hang on to that lead. I'm taking the slight plus money, plus 110 on the White Sox this afternoon.
All right, how about a total here, Erik? Is there one that's gotten your attention?
Yeah, we talked about the Braves-Nationals game earlier. I'm on that one for the total here. It's set at 8.5. The teams have been averaging 8.1, so they'll need a slightly above average performance in this one. I think they can get it, especially if Juan Soto is back for the Nationals. I think he himself is probably worth a good amount of that gap that they need to make up. Max Fried, as was touched on earlier, has been terrible this season before that hamstring injury. And even when he's on, he's not too scary. He's roughly league average strikeout and walk rates with a high ground ball rate. It's not an ace. And Eric Fedde on the other side, career ERA over 5, strikes out just 16.4% of opposing batters, walks more than average as well. So not much to like on that side. So I really like this one if Soto's back, and even if he's not back in the starting lineup, I still think it's a pretty good play.
All right, total that has your attention, Jules. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm probably going to be looking at a first 5 under here. And admittedly, I bet a lot more sides than totals. So this is more of a lean for me, I would say. But just looking at this game in Kansas City, you got a good pitching matchup with Bieber and Singer here. You're in a ballpark that plays to unders or plays to less runs. What I don't like is that it's pretty low on right now with plus money going to the under. So, I mean, this is one that I just think we could easily see like a 1-0 type of first 5 game here. I would like to maybe get a little bit more value on it, but right now that's where I'm looking on the board for an under.
Garion, in your article on DK Nation, you liked the team total for the Nats.
I did, but let's go back to that Cleveland Kansas City game because I do think it's really interesting. And as Julian pointed out, this is a good pitching matchup. And to a lot of people, you'd say, okay, Shane Bieber, he's going to pull his weight. We're going to stay under 3.5 runs first 5 here. I really want to give a shout out to Brady Singer, who I think has been underrated and amazing so far this season. He did leave his last start. He was hit with a comebacker. All indications are he's fine. He's pitching on normal rest today, so everything seems like it's in order. Singer in his last 4 starts has held opponents to a 230 WOBA. And for the season as a whole, he's allowing just a 2% barrels per plate appearance rate. That is the lowest qualified mark in the American League. I don't think people are giving him enough credit for how well he's pitched. It's not like he doesn't have pedigree either. This is a former first-round pick. This is someone who should start coming into his own at this point in his career. Both of these offenses are in the lower half of the league in runs scored so far this season. And yeah, if Singer does his part, then you've got Shane Bieber on the other side. So I'm pretty confident this game stays under 3.5 runs first 5. So even at -122, I like it a lot.
All right, Jules, let's talk about like your favorite overall bet here. This could be like a total, a prop, really whatever. In the MLB, just give it to me.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Orioles first 5 for me. Just given the way that John Means is going right now, I think there's a pitching matchup there, a pitching advantage there that I really want to target early in that game. And, you know, keep it to those first few rounds through the order and be done with it. So I'm going to go with O's first 5 as my favorite bet on the board for baseball today.
Garion, your favorite bet on the board, what is it?
Well, you teed it up last time, so I got to talk about it now. Nationals over their team total of 3.5. Erik talked about it. If you don't want to bet Nationals money line, the reason you're not doing that is Eric Fetty. You just don't trust him. And that's understandable. The Braves have a fantastic offense. They've been hitting much better as of late. But for the Nationals to score 4 runs in this game, I think it's going to be relatively easy. I mean, Soto, again, is the big question mark. However, they've got so many guys you wouldn't expect to have amazing numbers against left-handed pitching so far this season. Josh Harrison's hit lefties really well. Starlin Castro has hit lefties really well. Ryan Zimmerman is still hitting lefties pretty well. I think they've got enough to get there, even if Soto doesn't play. And a lot of that, again, comes down to Max Fried, but it also comes down to Atlanta's bullpen. I think we think of this team as like a complete, awesome team. Over the last 2 weeks, Atlanta's bullpen has a 4.88 xFIP. That is the second highest mark in all of baseball. They're throwing a ton of innings because Drew Smyly can't work deep into games because Max Fried's been hurt. I just think as a pitching staff, they're in a bad spot right now, and I think the Nationals can take advantage.
All right, Erik, what is your favorite overall bet in the MLB? Tell me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a prop for this one. I'm going to go under 4.5 strikeouts for Casey Mize. He's hit the over in just 4 of his 12 career starts, so he's already more likely than not to fail this one, at least based on his track record. And the situation here makes it even tougher for him. He's facing a Red Sox team that's the second best offense by WRC plus and the 5th best at avoiding strikeouts. So I don't think this is going to be an above average strikeout game for Mize here. Just a 17.4% strikeout rate this season. Was only at 19.5 last year in his debut and only 23.5 at AA in 2019, which hardly suggests that we're expecting him to come in and strike out a lot of guys. He does have talent. He has prospect pedigree, but it is not manifesting in a lot of strikeouts early. So I have no reason to believe he's going to suddenly have a high strikeout game out of nowhere against a team that doesn't strike out much.
All right, guys, before we let you go here, how about we give a little love to the DFS side of things? You give us your favorite DFS play for tonight. Garion, who's it going to be?
Well, I talked a lot about liking the under in that Cleveland-Kansas City game, and Brady Singer was a huge part of that. If you look at the 10-game featured slate tonight, it almost seems like a misprint. I mean, Brady Singer is $5,500. There is a reasonable chance you can pencil in 4x value, and you might even get 5x value if he can somehow figure out a way to get the win in this game. I think this is entirely based on him going up against Shane Bieber. They're just taking a couple $1,000s away from a guy who has a low win expectancy. I get it. But again, Singer has pitched to the level of someone who should probably be over $8,000 on this slate. And you're getting him at 5.5. I think he's just a shoo-in.
All right. How about you, Erik? Who is your favorite DFS play for tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to go with another pitcher who seems pretty underpriced with JT Brubaker. Similar reason to not like him in that he's going up against an ace in Yu Darvish, but that's the only reason to not like him tonight. At 6,900, he's the 12th most expensive pitcher. He's the 5th best in terms of points per game so far this season. And I think it's mostly for real. He's a guy I liked for season-long fantasy purposes heading into the year because he was slightly above average in strikeout, walk, and ground ball rates last year. Not many guys do all of those at once. And this year, they're all trending in the right direction. His cut his walk rate to just 4.4%, while his strikeout rates jumped to 26.5. And he's pitching in a very pitcher-friendly park in San Diego. And he's facing a lineup that really has not scored a lot of runs this season. The Padres are somewhat surprisingly 6th worst in runs per game. So I think there's a lot to like here outside of the fact that getting a win is tough. I think, as was mentioned with Brady Singer, I think there's a few quite good, quite cheap pitchers on this slate.
Jules, favorite DFS play for tonight? Who is it?
Yeah, and I haven't been playing a ton of MLB with NBA still in season. So as soon as I opened this slate, I was going to ask Garion, is there a mistake with Brady Singer, the guy that he went with? That's the immediate guy that I went to. I thought that there had to be at least $1,000 to $1,500 mistake on his salary. This dude opened the season, his opening day start. He was $8,700 against Texas. He's $5,500 against the Cleveland offense that we just mentioned. We like the under on. Garion said they're a bottom half of the league offense. Maybe he doesn't beat Bieber. He's an underdog, although we talked underdogs. I don't mind Kansas City at plus 140 either if you want an underdog play. So Singer could easily get the win here and get those 4 points that he's kind of being, priced down because he's not expected to get because of the matchup. But yeah, going up against Cleveland, like, this is a guy, he got 32 DraftKings points against Detroit. He got 22 and a half DraftKings points in his last start at home against Toronto. Way too underpriced. An easy guy to slot in at pitcher for me and just keep building your lineup. No brainer.